it gives you such a great feeling. It's like, yeah, look, I am wanted. And they're whispering about me and he's cute. And it feels so very good, but in quite a superficial, temporary way, and often leads to not feeling that good afterwards when he's like moves on to the next person. So I think the real key is building up an immense, healthy sense of self-worth so that you don't rely on getting a sense of self based on how many guys send you an emoji. And I just feel so good about myself because I'm living up to my values, because I'm being kind to people, I'm being kind to myself. I just feel so good about who I am as a person that I don't crave attention from guys as much. And it really comes down to self-respect. It's like, you don't deserve to touch me. I'm sorry. Like, the Jewish woman is the highest spiritual being. She represents the Shekhinah. I'm going to let some guy, like, the problem is, no, I feel good that guys want to touch me. And the truth is, sorry to say, the truth is guys would touch most people. I'm sorry to say it. Like, you shouldn't feel that good that a guy wants to be with you. He'd be with most people.
Hey, I'm Esther, and you are listening to On Your Own, the podcast for Jewish girls living away from home. Each week, we bring you an inspiring person or message to help you confidently navigate life on your own so you can achieve real growth and independence and take ownership of this foundational stage of your life. For additional resources, tips, and to stay up to date on future episodes, sign up for the On Your Own newsletter, linked below in the description. Looking forward to spending some time with you today. And now, to this week's episode.
Hello, Rav Dov Ber. Welcome to the On Your Own podcast.
Dang, I'm so excited to be on this podcast.
I'm so glad. Our topic today is boundaries and relationship with guys and what that looks like now that we're living on our own. So many girls are navigating independence and living away from home for the first time. And from a Torah perspective, what does a healthy relationship with the opposite gender look like at this stage of their lives before they actually are actively starting to look for their marriage partner?
From a Torah perspective, we believe that the relationship between boys and girls, men and women, is very, very, very sacred and very, very holy. And therefore, if you're not ready to start dating to get married, there doesn't seem to be any particular reason, healthy, holy reason, to be engaging in a relationship with the opposite people. But it's really more of a sensitivity than that, which is emotional vulnerability. And there's so much emotion involved that people get very, very hurt and very sucked in. And we want to try and avoid that as much as we can so that when we finally have the relationship, which is the most important relationship of our life, we haven't been hurt, and that we can really just truly give ourselves fully to the right person in the right time.
Why is it such an emotionally vulnerable relationship? Why can't it just be like my other relationships and be casual?
Because the heart, especially of a woman on her own, we crave oneness, literally. And we believe that what marriage is the coming together of two halves of one soul. So, especially at this age, 19, 20, however, 21, where the soul is craving completion and the soul is craving wholeness. And so the psychological makeup of human beings, we're made up of the four aspects: the physical body, and the heart, the emotions, and the mind, the intellect, and then the soul. So there's an immense pull towards oneness and connection. In fact, the word love in Hebrew, ahava, is the same gematria as echad, which means one. So we're looking for this.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Aleph, Chet, Dalet. is 13, and Aleph, Hey, Bet, Hey is 13. That's why we really say you have 1 is 13 and love is 13, and 13 plus 13 is 26, which is Hashem's name. So basically what's happening is there's a very intense drive for oneness and returning to oneness. And
Mm.
because we also have a physical body and we have a physical drive, which is meant to be sanctified. In Judaism, we really believe that the physical relationship is a beautiful, holy, very powerful, wonderful thing. But the physical relationship, the bringing together of two bodies into one, as it were, is meant to really be a reflection of a spiritual oneness. Once two souls have become one. So if it's used in the wrong way, and we're driven by the physical drive, which we all have, and it's natural and normal, the emotions get very caught up, and people get hurt, very, very hurt. And people fall in love, what they think is love, which is not necessarily love. And then suddenly he's with another girl. And it's just a very, very sensitive thing. The truth is, if we can avoid it, we'd want to, just for our own mental and emotional well-being. I've also found lots of my students, because I teach in seminaries with girls of this age, it's completely distracting. Did he send me the emoji? And, I checked out his Instagram page and he was talking to another girl, and what does that mean? And then my looks, am I pretty? And so it's really very crushing in a way. And it's hard for our sense of self when I get my sense of self because this guy's interested in me. And really, probably based on my looks and his also physical drive and the attachment drive, and also it just feels nice that someone cares about you and someone's interested in you. But it becomes an obsession where I just can't stop thinking about him, and, and I wrote him a message 40 minutes ago, and he saw the message and he didn't reply yet, which means that he doesn't love me, and it's just very, very emotionally fraught with difficulty. It's just sad, and it's really coming from a holy place. It's a beautiful yearning for real oneness. But before we're ready to really make that commitment, you don't want to go there.
Hmm. I really appreciate how you're framing this in terms of the emotional vulnerability, because so often we hear, well, that's what the Torah says, and this is what you were told to do. And then the moment that that doesn't hit home, it's almost like, okay, so now what? But the fact that you're framing this in a way like this is best for you on a physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual level at this time of your life. I really appreciate that.
And also really investing in the relationship when it comes. Because if you've been in a relationship and it didn't work out, and you gave your emotional intimacy to someone else, and maybe even physical intimacy to someone else, that kind of takes away from, you're going to have comparisons. The Torah is actually looking out for our best. It's not just like, don't do this, do this, because you'll be punished. That's not what it is. It's not. The Torah is really a guidebook. The Zohar says that even the mitzvahs are pieces of advice. Hashem saying, look, I created you and I understand you. And I understand it's difficult and I understand your challenges. And I'm not out to get you. And I'm trying to guide you to, to the healthiest, happiest, most deep, real, authentic life that you can have. And sometimes that's going to take a bit of self-restraint to be able to hold back. In fact, this is what Kedusha is. Kedusha, holiness, is I'm holding back in order to create intimacy. I'm not just all over the place. I'm holding myself back in order to that when I do engage, it's in the most beautiful, conscious, really intimate, holy way.
Hmm. That's a really helpful reframe because often we think that it's kind of Hashem just saying, "You're not allowed to do this, that's usur." And here you're saying it's actually an opportunity for connection. So a lot of things get in this is the ideal. A lot of things feel like they get in the way, though, of being able to say, "I've heard all of this. I resonate with it," but there is a big drive. You said that we're craving oneness already now. What are we supposed to do with that drive that we do experience already now, even though we're not ready to put that into a marriage, or that craving for completion and wholeness when we don't have the outlet of having that relationship yet?
First, just being real that it's hard and we're craving it. And the Jewish path, and it's really hard. I'm not saying, once again, it's an ideal, is to use the craving to create a yearning. I'm yearning for something real. So therefore, I don't want to sell myself out with some kind of counterfeit, short-term, temporary thing, which is actually going to take away from what the purpose is. So rather than seeing the holding back as suffering, we see it as creating this yearning, this beautiful relationship that's going to be just like, for example, I work with the boys as well, and some of the boys say, you know what, I'm going to mess around a bit until I'm ready, and then I'll be showman. And I say to them, well, how about your wife? If you thought your wife was saying the same thing, if she said, you know what, I'll just mess around, and they were like, oh, disgusting. And I'm like, hold on a second, come on, you can't have it both ways. But
Mm.
or your daughter, you want people to look at your daughter like you look at women, or treat your daughter like that. So to really be able to see someone as a neshama, as a soul, as intrinsically lovable and worthy, and not just as a way to fulfill my physical and emotional desires.
Wow. So by restraining, we are actively investing in that relationship that we're yearning for. Like we're in it already now, but almost in the negative act of not pursuing it right now.
Yes, the holding back is creating the space for the real thing in every area of life. When you go to the gym, it's painful, it hurts, but the pain is the preparation for the benefit of being strong and healthy, or looking good, or losing weight, whatever it is. So we see it all overnight. Working hard for your exam it's hard, but it's worth the investment, because then you do well in your exam and you get the benefit of what the exam is giving you. So if you can keep in mind the end goal whilst you're going through the challenge, it still doesn't take away the challenge, and it's hard, but it makes the challenge meaningful, rather than just like meaningless. I have to do this, otherwise I'll get punished by God. Or it's actually, I know I'm actually investing in something. This is taking me to something that I feel and I want. And I actually speak to many people when they're a bit older, 30, but whenever they're a bit older, and the ones that controlled themselves more, they look back and they're like, thank God I did that. So like, it was terrible. It was hard in the time, but I just feel, I saved myself and my emotional
Wow.
intimacy for my husband. And the people who didn't, often they feel a lot of guilt and shame, and it does affect their marriage. Now, I work with those ones to say, okay, so you didn't know. And I try to help them say, so to get rid of your guilt and shame. It's fine. So it's good either way.
Hmm.
We're back. But going into it to be able to try and create this ideal situation would be, that's what we want to try to do.
Hmm. Hmm. So,
And
what are the boundaries? I know people don't like that word so much, but that we need to have within ourselves to be able to keep up this ideal pursuit of saving this for the right person and for the right time.
yes, I think I think firstly, it comes down to self-worth. People get their self-worth based on what other people think of them. So it's very, very difficult when you're a 19, 20-year-old girl, or when you're a 49, 50-year-old woman, to not crave the attention of men. I want to go to parties and men are like, I want men to think I'm good looking, and it means that lots of them spending a little bit too much time on your makeup and your hair, and it actually creates a bit of anxiety. But then when you do go out and and the guys are looking at you, it gives you such a great feeling. It's like, yeah, look, I am wanted, and these guys and they're whispering about me, and he's cute, and and it feels so very good, but in quite a superficial, temporary way, and often leads to not feeling that good afterwards when he's like moves on to the next person.
Mhm.
Uh, so I think the real key is building up an immense, healthy sense of self-worth, so that you don't rely on getting your sense of self based on how many guys send you an emoji. And like, so I just feel so good about myself because I'm living up to my values, because I'm being kind to people, I'm being kind to myself. I just feel so good about who I am as a person that I don't crave attention from guys as much.
Mm.
And also, not saying things about guys, but I have. Guys, especially this age, they have a very male drive. I'll put it like that. So in general, a guy who's really worth being with probably isn't going out to parties and drinking and flirting with women.
Mm.
And if they are, in general, they have one track. Right? They're in it for a specific reason, to be nice. And obviously, there are really cute guys who are also very emotional, and they're nice and kind, but it's just very sensitive and a little bit immature at this stage to do it in a complete. So where I would put my boundaries is, I think the ideal would be, don't hang out with guys. Just don't do it. Okay. So now I'm going to be real, because that's not real. So I'd say, at least don't let them touch you. So hang out with the guy. He's cute. And if he's a guy who's worth being with, then he'll be okay not touching you. And if he gets a little bit upset, come on, you don't want to be with that guy. You want to, so you can have the emotional connection and the emojis and all that stuff. But as soon as touch comes in, it makes it very complicated. You want to save that for someone who deserves to touch. And it really comes down to self respect. It's like, you don't deserve to touch me. I'm sorry. If you're not well married, do you know, a Jewish woman is the pinnacle of creation. A Jewish woman is the highest spiritual being. She represents the Shekhinah. I'm going to let some guy, like, whatever. You should be like, no way you're coming near me. I don't. But the problem is, no, I feel good that guys want to touch me. And the truth is,
Mm.
sorry to say, the truth is, guys would touch most people. I'm sorry to say it. Like, you shouldn't feel that good that a guy wants to be with you. He'd be with most people.
Wow. So what do you think about, would you say the boundary is the Shomer Negia? Do we need boundaries pre-Shomer Negia to avoid getting to that stage? Or do you think that if we have enough self-worth, that's enough, that can hang out with guys or be in those environments as long as I know I'm not touching?
I think that would be a nice and fair balance. I feel really good
Mhm.
about myself, but I do enjoy hanging out with guys a bit, and maybe even flirting a bit, because I know I'm not touching them. That's the bound.
Mhm.
Because I know they're not touching me unless we're under the chuppah, basically. So I can flirt a bit because I enjoy the flirting. I still think it's not perfect, because you could then get emotionally involved and hurt.
Right.
But the truth is, if you get emotionally involved and hurt, but you haven't touched each other, you're much less hurt.
Hmm.
Once you've touched someone and then they hurt you, that hurt is much more painful, because you gave of your physical intimacy to them. If you just give of your emotional intimacy through flirting and talking and chatting, it's still very painful if you get hurt, but not nearly as painful if you also had physical intimacy with them. Really fair. Obviously, the ultimate is don't talk to guys. Sit and play tennis and go to the gym and work on your self-control and enjoy your life. And then when you're ready to actually commit, and the truth is, even when you're ready to commit, you probably don't want to marry a guy who's in a nightclub. I just don't think you would want to do
Right.
that. You want to marry the guy who isn't going out drinking on Thursday night in the shul and flirty. You don't want to marry that guy. You want to marry the guy who on Thursday night is at Mishma in his yeshiva singing with the boys. That's the guy you want to go
Right.
out with. So it's really getting that balance. And I think the guy who you want to marry, who's sitting in Mishma and singing with the boys, he doesn't want to marry a girl who's going out to the shuk either. Once again, don't feel bad about yourself. There's no guilt or shame. We're human, and we have this, but it's very good to have that boundary. And then you got to know yourself. Let's say, okay, I can't not hug my friends. I grew up with them, and he's a guy. He's in yeshiva. I'm a girl. So when I see him, I'm going to give him a hug. I don't. I can deal with that. I'm just trying to make it wider and broader.
Mhm.
But that's also dangerous. People say no, platonic friendship.
Mhm.
Not. I, I don't know. So just try to be normal. So if there's someone you've known your whole life and they're at issue or whatever, and they say a little quick hug, but this is different for Balt Shuva. Balt Shuva girls, they say, I've known him my whole life, I'm going to give him a hug. I say, that's fine, but some new guy, don't let him touch you. Why should you? You're just so used to that's how we meet. So you say, no, you can't touch me. I remember when I first became religious when I was 29, I spoke to some girls that I was friendly with when I was younger. I was going back to England, and I said, do you want to go for a drink? But I just want you to know I'm not going to hug you. I'm not going to touch you. I'm religious now. Some of them got very upset and angry. So I realized that's not my friend. Some of them completely respected that. And they say, wow, that's great. And we went and that was it. And then gradually I drifted away because I don't think it's okay to have female friends once you're married. I don't have any female friends now. I have lots of students but I don't want to give any of my emotional intimacy to anyone apart from my wife and children. So someone said to me the other day, it's very extreme. Don't touch women at all. And I said, you know what? It is very extreme, but it means I've got an extremely beautiful marriage.
Wow. Hmm.
I'm going to
That's a
be
good point.
extreme because I'm investing in extreme intimacy with my wife. And I'm not just talking about physical, I'm talking about emotional intimacy with my wife. She knows that I teach women, but she knows for a fact I'm not touching them. I'm not talking to them after hours. I'm not WhatsApping them. I'm not even looking at them in the eyes for a long time. I'm not giving my emotional intimacy to anyone apart from my wife. That makes her feel very special. And it makes my marriage very special.
I think even for a young woman who is not married, knowing what you said of I'm investing in extremely exceptional marriage by being extreme now. It's such a good like response when someone says, "Whoa, you're so extreme. You're not, you're not going to go out with us. You're not going to do that thing." It's like, yeah, that is extreme because I want an extremely special, intimate relationship when the time is right. That's such a beautiful reframe.
But we also got to be real that if there's a social group and it's hard, I don't want to be the nerd
Mm.
staying in yeshiva in seminary and reading Tehillim. I want to be kind of cool, and I do enjoy it. So that's fair. Go out to the shuk on Thursday night and and maybe have a strawberry daiquiri. I don't know what women drink, but yeah. And you can enjoy the music. But once you start dancing sexually or whatever, or the whole pouty photo thing, I don't get that.
I don't know if I could explain that.
Uh, Well, I spoke to a group about it and I said, what's the message? What are you saying? But what I
Mm.
don't get it. You saying I'm very kind or are you saying I'm very intelligent? And so one of the girls was like, well, if you don't pout, they can't see your cheekbones.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that makes sense. It's really important for people to be able to see your cheekbone. Why is that? Why? So how do you think boys are going to treat you and relate to you if you're profile picture you're putting out there. Now I feel I'm starting to sound like some old-fashioned, crusty Orthodox rabbi. But the truth is the key, and it's what I mentioned first, is protecting your own emotional pain.
Hmm.
There's a lot of heartbreak that I'm speaking to these girls often who are like broken because the guy said he loved me. And then 2 weeks later, he didn't. It's like, how could anyone stop loving someone? It's like, he didn't love you in the first place.
Hmm.
Not that that helps, but so I'm really trying to be be real with the fact that there is a social scene, and you go to Gansaka on Shabbos day, and they're the lone soldiers hanging out, and then the people playing. So I don't think you shouldn't go there. Go there, but and sit with your girlfriends, and you can look at guys a bit and smile a bit, but just understand once you get too attached, then there are consequences.
Hmm.
There's a price to
Wow. I'm gonna ask you now a question that might be too big for the amount of time we have, but we'll see how. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who struggles with the thing you said that's important to set those boundaries, which is self-worth, what would be the first place to start in trying to build up my self-worth if right now I do feel like I depend on guys to get that?
Yes. Self-worth is really based on how much alcohol you can drink, how quickly without throwing up. So if you can really practice that in your own time, just get vodka and stuff and drink as much. And so that's not true. Self-worth is based on living up to your values. I feel good about myself, not because you think I look sexy and you're sending me emojis. I feel good about myself because I'm growing as a person. I'm a kinder person than I used to be. I'm more connected than I used to be. I'm more patient than I used to be. So I get my sense of self based on my personal growth. And in fact, my boundaries. I get my sense of self because I didn't let that guy touch me. Or I get my sense of self because I could have gone out, but my friend was really sad. So I stayed and I just spent the night with my friend in seminary who was really sad. And I spent 3 hours with her. Now I really wanted to go to the party, but I value my friend more than enjoying it, whatever. So my sense of self comes from I'm living up to my values. I'm being a kind, good, loving, healthy person. And therefore I then don't need to rely on what you think of my pouty photo.
So we need to be proud of ourselves and give that kind of attention to ourselves as a put and
Yeah, like my meaningful achievements, things that I'm proud of myself for. What are my meaningful achievements in my life? Am I living up to my values? And then I just feel good about myself. And that's a very healthy sense of self worth. And also speaking to myself kindly, lots of self compassion and self care. Because many people, especially women, have a negative critical voice. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I- And it's so destructive. And therefore they crave external recognition. But the truth is, you don't need external recognition. You need internal recognition of your good values and start not letting the critical negative voice in your head take over and make things so significant. And when it does come into your head, to just be able to say, okay, I hear you, Yetzirah. You should give it a name. You should say, hey, Snakey, thanks for coming. And don't take it so seriously and actually speak to yourself kindly. So look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and say, I'm a beautiful, radiant, worthy, lovable being of divine light and love and joy. Something like positive affirmations, just nice things. And then you do just feel good about yourself without
yeah.
external recognition based on superficial values and superficial things like your hair and your makeup and your clothes and your body.
And then it becomes less, I guess, dazzling and enticing when someone else gives you those kind of compliments because you've been giving them to yourself. It's almost like speak to
Mm,
yourself like you wish someone else would be speaking to you.
yes. Yeah. Now it still feels nice. It will always feel nice when people say things like that to you. But you won't depend on them, and you won't rely on
Hmm.
them. And you'll also see through them. So I had a student who very, very popular on TikTok and many fans and really success, what people would call the most successful you could be, very a student of mine. And she said that even though she had all of that success, she really struggled with feeling good about herself because people would write like, I love you. And other people would write, I hate you. And so I sat her down one day and I said, I just want you to know that the people who are saying that they love you, they don't actually love you. They don't know you. And the people who are saying that they hate you, they don't actually hate you either. They've got their own issues and their own problems and they're jealous and they're whatever. So you shouldn't care what other people think at all. And even beyond that, we don't need to worry about what other people are thinking about us in general because they're actually not thinking about us. We're so obsessed. Oh, everyone's thinking about. They're not. They're thinking about their own problems and their own issues. And did I look cool at the party? So you go back home and you're in your bed and you're thinking to yourself, did I look cool at the party? And what did other people think of me? They're all in their beds wondering what you thought of them. So you don't need to. So I'm going to have that extra shot of vodka just to get people to think I'm cool. And then you go home and you don't feel better about yourself because you did something you don't want to do just to impress other people. And everyone else at the party is also doing things that they don't want to do just to impress other people as well. And then no one's thinking about it. Everyone's thinking about their problem. Even if you did something really embarrassing at a party, no one's really thinking about it afterwards. Maybe a little bit once. They're in their bed and they smiled, but then they're thinking, I'm glad that wasn't me. What did that guy actually think of me? And I got my problems. So no one's actually thinking about you that much. So we're obsessed with what other people think of us when they're not really.
Wow. I just heard of a study that they sent this woman into a bar with like a really, really, really ugly sweater, like hideous. And then afterwards they surveyed everyone in the bar, like who noticed the woman with the ugly sweater, and no one noticed. Like I didn't notice. So yeah.
Yeah.
The final question I ask all my guests is that if you could go back to the first year that you left home for the first time, and based on everything that you know now, just share one thing with that past version of you who's just left home, what would you tell him?
I think it's going to be the sense of self. I think everything we speak about comes down to the sense of self. Stop chasing recognition from other people and really build your sense of self based on being kind and doing the right thing. It's really what my father, Alav Shalom, said to me. It's just always do the right thing. Even if it's hard, do the right thing. Even if no one else is doing the right thing, do the right thing. Even if in the moment doing the right thing doesn't feel good, it will feel good in the end. Because self-respect comes from self-control. Self-respect comes from doing the right thing. Good relationships comes from doing the right thing. Happiness comes from doing the right thing. So even if it's challenging, just in every situation, just try your best to do the right thing. And you'll benefit in the end.
Wow. Wow. Rav Dov Ber, thank you so, so much. Thank you for taking this time and for sharing your wisdom with us. And I really appreciate it, and I cannot wait to get it out to my audience. I know they're going to gain so much from it.
That's Hashem, and everyone should be blessed with Shatava, B'Surius Tavis, to find the right person at the right time and create a beautiful, holy Jewish marriage.
Amen. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of On Your Own. If you like this episode or think it will be useful to someone else, please leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. I would love to connect with you. If you've got any questions, feedback, or ideas for future episodes, you can email me at onyourownpodcast@gmail.com. See you next week. And in the meantime, happy adulting.